Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and the weekly wildcard draft for Game Week 26. Apologies for not making a wildcard draft in Game Week 25. It's the first time this season that I've missed it, not only through a video but also through transfers and stuff. Just had a lot of things going on last week and I was back to work and was pretty tired. But now I feel really re-energized, really happy about going on forward in this season and trying to get a better rank as well, because currently not too happy with my current rank, even though I did get or have gotten a slight green arrow so far this game week, and that's before I have triple captain Salah against Aston Villa in the game against Aston Villa now on Wednesday. But when it comes to my content and stuff, week wildcard draft, we're going to make it every single week from now on, game week 26, 27, 28, 29, all the way up to game week 38. This season, we're going to make a wildcard draft. And this week is no different. And if you're unfamiliar with this type of video from this channel, then I'm going to tell you right now what I'm going to do. And that is to make a draft, a weekly wildcard draft, like it says in the title. But what is kind of different from what I do and what other people do in their wildcard videos is the fact that I'm going to present it kind of in a different way. I sort of make it like an NBA or NFL style draft where I pick players from number 1 through number 15 for the 15 players in my squad. And the number 1 player that I'm going to choose, the number 1 pick as it were, is going to be the player that I think is the most important player to have in FPL currently. And then the 15th player in the squad is going to be the player that is the least important to have currently in FPL. So yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get into the team. And number 1, as always, still, even with the tough fixtures, even with everything else, it is going to be Mo Salah, because he is going to be just that guy. He is the main man when it comes to captaincy. Even this week, playing against Man City away, which is now looking like a really tough fixture because City are looking a lot better now with all the new signings and stuff, he's still going to be the best captaincy choice because he is just that guy. He's been so good and so amazing for so long. He's also going to have some really good fixtures after Game Week 29, which is going to be a blank, obviously. As you can see there for Salah, he doesn't have a fixture in Game Week 29, but it doesn't really matter because you can just bench him. Because with this team, we have 3 players that are going to be benched for Game Week 29, and we're going to have a player, or 4 players even with the goalkeeper. But we're going to have a full squad of players to play and field 11 players for that game week. So don't worry about that blank for now. But when it comes to the fixtures, Man City away, he's probably going to be the best captaincy option. Newcastle at home, maybe he'll be the best captaincy option. We'll have to look at that when we get there. Maybe we want to go with someone like Palmer instead, but we'll see about that. Southampton at home is definitely a really good captaincy choice for Salah. And especially if you have triple captaincy left, you could also use it there. But I would still advise to use it in a double game week or potentially even in game week 38, which is usually a high scoring game week anyways. But yeah, for sure in that game, in game week 28 against Southampton, he's going to be pretty essential to have in FPL as well. So yeah, no reason to sell Salah, no reason to worry about getting rid of him or anything like that. Most of us have a lot of money tied into Salah because he has been rising in price all season. And I think he's still a really important player to have. And I think he's going to be in my team for the rest of the season as well. So yeah, still a pretty easy number 1 pick. I don't think there's any other like standout super options now. So Salah is number 1 pick, and that's just the way it's going to be because Salah is amazing. Number 2, we have Cole Palmer, and yes, he has been really disappointing lately. And if you sold him like 4 game weeks ago before this bad run of games for both Chelsea and Palmer, then it makes sense. He has lost Nicholas Jackson as his like number 1 striker option, and he is actually like a big miss for Palmer because he makes up so much. Like, he does miss a lot of chances that Palmer sets up for him, but he also creates a lot of space and chances for Palmer to get both assists and goals. So lately, Palmer has struggled a bit. Only 1 assist in the last 4 games. That's it, basically. But just looking at the fixtures, you just can't sell Palmer at this point. Like Southampton, Leicester at home, no matter which team it is, and in this case, it's Chelsea, who are still really talented offensively. You need a player like Palmer who's going to be on penalties, who's going to be so amazing to have in those fixtures. So just purely from the fixtures perspective, I think Palmer is still like a really important player to have. That's why he's number 2 pick currently in FPL. But after those 2 game weeks, I do understand why people would sell him, especially to make room for a big, tall Norwegian guy. Not me, but someone else who I'm going to talk about later in the video. But yeah, Palmer for sure. He's still a really good option. And who knows with Chelsea? Like, maybe they turn it on again. Maybe they find some answers. Maybe Nkunku works out as a striker. That could be a good option for them as well. Once they sort of like sort out the kinks and all that stuff. They have some players coming back from injury as well. So we'll see what happens with Chelsea, but at least for the fixtures against Southampton and Leicester, I don't think there's any reason to sell Palmer currently. But if you did a couple game weeks ago, fine, no reason to rush to bring him back in, because after game week 28 and 29, or game week 27, 28 against Southampton and Leicester, there is a case to sell Palmer, even though he has pretty good fixtures after game week 29 as well, and he does have a fixture in game week 29. So that means you can field a player at least in that game week, which is going to be a blank game week. So yeah, Palmer, a lot of upside for him, especially the next few games in terms of the fixtures. But I do understand why I would sell him after those fixtures. So we'll see what happens to his value later on in the season. But for now, he's the number 2 pick in my estimation at least. Number 3, again, we're going to stick with Isak. There are a lot of good striker options, so I do understand why I would go away from Isak. But sort of like with Salah, I think he's just too good value, especially with the fixtures after game week 29 as well. So Salah and Isak are the 2 players that I would just keep, especially if you have a lot of value tied into them. They're going to be really good. And Isak, like, I wouldn't put it past him to score against Nottingham Forest either. He's usually pretty good against Liverpool, and I've seen him in the past against West Ham as well, just be absolutely dominant. So yeah, I don't really mind the 3 fixtures. Then he has a blank, obviously, but it doesn't really matter because we can just bench him for that fixture. And then after that, he has really good fixtures with a double in game week 33 on top of that. So Isak is going to be essential after game week 29, especially, and before game week 29 as well. I think the fixtures are more than good enough to justify having him in your squad still. But there are a lot of good striker options that I'm going to talk about later in this video as well. So I do understand why people would potentially sell him. I do sort of get why people went from Isak to Watkins last week, and it has paid off so far because Isak blanked and Watkins got 8 points from the first match and has Liverpool left to go. So yeah, that worked out for a lot of you guys. But I think if you kept Isak for this long, I think you might as well just keep him for the long-term future as well. And yeah, I just really like him in general as a player. He's obviously such a terrific striker in general. You know, he's just going to score goals. And yes, Newcastle, kind of like Chelsea, haven't really been in the best form lately, but that could easily also pick up because we know how good players Newcastle have. So yeah, don't really have any qualms about keeping Isak either, and he comes in at number 3. Number 4, we have Justin Kluivert. That means that he is my favorite Bournemouth midfielder as well, because that's like the big debate currently, who is the best out of Kluivert, Dango, and somewhat Semenyo, I guess. But out of Kluivert and Dango, spoilers, both are in this team. I really like both of them. But the reason why I've preferred Kluivert for now is the fact that in the next 2 fixtures, he has Wolverhampton at home and Brighton away. And that's pretty important because of penalties. Because Wolverhampton and Brighton are the 2 teams that have conceded the most penalties this season, including Wolves, who conceded 3 penalties against Bournemouth last time around, where Kluivert got a hat-trick from penalties, as you remember. And now Kluivert is in better positions. He plays further up the pitch. He's in better form. Bournemouth are in a better form as well. And there is a good chance of him getting penalties both in this game against Wolves and in the next game against Brighton. So I think Kluivert for like a differential captaincy shout. I think if you don't want to go with Salah this week, I think Kluivert is actually a decent player to go with because, yeah, he's in good form. He is involved in attacking play for Bournemouth. So, yeah, like we saw last game week, he got an assist from basically just passing it to Christie, who shot it from outside the box. That can happen. He can get penalties and he can score from open play, like we saw against Newcastle when he scored a hat-trick from open play. So Kluivert is just absolutely amazing currently, so I think he's a really good player to have. He's also going to be a good long-term as well, so you could make a case that he should be higher up even in the standings, but I think number 4 is still pretty high for Kluivert, but especially with these 2 next game weeks in mind against Wolves and Brighton, I'm almost guaranteeing that he's going to get a penalty in one of those 2 fixtures because I think Wolverhampton have conceded 7 penalties this season and Brighton have conceded 6 penalties this season, so I think those fixtures are looking really nice for Bournemouth, and it makes all the sense in the world for me to double up with Bournemouth midfielders, as I will do with this. But yeah, the penalty thing especially just makes it for me that Kluivert is the best option for Bournemouth, and I think he's just a really good player to have for this game week, especially as well. So yeah, he comes in at number 4. Number 5, we have Marmoush from City, and yes, some of it is recency bias because he scored 3 goals this past game week against Newcastle, which is also really nice to see him score against such a good team in Newcastle. But also just like Marmoush is fantastic. Like the price of 7.0 is kind of a mockery on almost because he's going to play. Like he is not like Alvarez back in the day where he needed basically Haaland to be out to play. He's going to play super attackingly. He's going to play on the left, or he's going to play as a striker for Haaland in some games potentially as well. And he's on set pieces, he's on corners, he's on direct free kicks. We've seen him in the past, like this season, even in the Bundesliga, he scored 3 free kicks in 3 game weeks in a row. So he just has a lot of avenues to points, and he's going to play most games for City almost up front as well. Like him and Haaland are like sort of like a duo up front. And it seems like Haaland is sort of sacrificing a bit, or at least in this past game. It looked like he sacrificed a bit for Marmoush to be like the spearhead of the team sometimes. So yeah, I think Marmoush is just really, really good value. So I have him as number 5. The fixtures aren't the best immediately. Like Liverpool is a tough fixture. Maybe not the best entry point if you're looking to buy him now. But at the same time, the way City are looking currently, especially offensively, I don't really mind them against Liverpool either. Like I think City are sort of back. I've been really harsh on City this whole season, but with all the new signings that they made, Nico Gonzalez in midfield as well has looked absolutely terrific since coming in. Marmoush especially as well has looked fantastic. He's also unlocked something in Savinho, it seems like, on the other side. So yeah, I just think Marmoush is really, really good value, and yeah, I think he's definitely someone to consider for sure. So if you're looking to sell Gakpo, for example, I think Marmoush is a really nice option, but there are a lot of good striker options that I'm going to get to eventually as well. So there are a lot of people that you can choose instead, but I think Marmoush for the price, like if he plays consistently for Man City in this attacking position and also being on set pieces, like he has all the makings of being a like super pick. So yeah, he's absolutely fantastic, and he comes in at number 5 for that reason, even though the fixtures aren't the best immediately. But yeah, from Gaming 29 onwards especially, yeah, also that fact that he might be the best captain's option in Gaming 29 apart from Haaland, who's really expensive. So yeah, it's just a lot of good reasons to to invest in Marmoush, and yeah, I think he's terrific, so he comes in at number 5. Number 6, we have Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth. Again, Bournemouth, it seems like a no-brainer to me to go triple up with Bournemouth. They're in such good form. They have really good fixtures, the best fixtures in the league. They also play in Gaming 29, a decent fixture at home to Brentford. So like all the reasons are there to have triple Bournemouth, and I think Kerkez is like the standout pick from the defensive side of things. Like you have Dienhausen as well, who's pretty good. He's a good set-piece threat, but I think Kerkez is just even more attacking, has more avenues to points. It's not only set pieces, and he's just been so good this season as well. Also like really good when it comes to bonus points, really attacking. I think there's a lot of clean sheets in the future for Bournemouth as well, even though they do tend to concede quite a few goals. But even if they do concede, Kerkez can get a goal or an assist. We've seen that in the past this season. Like he's a really terrific player. So for me, he's a pretty easy choice as the best defender in the game currently. And that's why he comes in at number 6, basically. Yeah. Let's move on to number 7. That is going to be Dango Ouattara. We are tripling up with Bournemouth. Dango as well looks absolutely fantastic. He's playing as a striker for Bournemouth, even though he's listed as a midfielder. The price also is just really tantalizing for Dango. It makes it easier to fit in someone like Haaland potentially in the future. And yeah, the fixtures are just terrific. The strikers are going to be out for a long time now, Evan Nilsson and Enes Wijnaldum. So Dango has just been a blessing in disguise in that matter, because he has really taken that striker role and really done it well as well. He's scoring goals almost every game week now, and it looks fantastic. So I don't think it's too much between Dango and Kluivert, but I do prefer Kluivert because of the penalties. But having both is probably optimal for me currently, because yeah, the fixtures are amazing. Wolves at home is a really good fixture for Bournemouth. I could see them scoring a lot of goals in that game. And even beyond that, they have really good fixtures. Brighton as well should also suit them. Tottenham should really suit them as well. Like they just have a lot of favorable fixtures. Brentford as well. Like the next 4 fixtures are actually really, really good, despite like some of them being grayed out, like away to Brighton, away to Spurs. It is kind of tough on paper, but at the same time, I think it really fits Bournemouth, and especially with the form that they're in now under Andone Areola is just absolutely amazing. So yeah, triple up is like a no-brainer to me currently, especially for the price that they are. So yeah, Dango comes in at number 7 for that reason, and that's why I have triple Bournemouth, because yeah, they are just that team currently that you want to target, because they double in 33 most likely. They don't blank in 29 like assuredly, like we know that already, and they have really good fixtures in between all those game weeks as well. So yeah, tripling up on Bournemouth, easy decision for me, and Dango is a fantastic third option as well, alongside Kerkez and Kluivert. Number 8, we have Gabriel Magalhaes, and I've been excited to say his name again because he has sort of been out of the Wildcard draft for quite a while. But I think soon enough, Arsenal will be even better than they have been in the past. And a lot of people clown on Arsenal, say that like, oh, they're nothing, like they're struggling, they're never going to win the league and stuff like that. Might be true still, but even so, like in the last 15 league games, they are unbeaten, which is crazy. Like Arsenal haven't really been the best this season. They have been sort of a disappointment, but at the same time, They had to go without Ødegaard in the start of the season. They had to go without Saka for this latter half of the season currently, or the mid part of the season, I should say. And they're still like chugging along and getting mostly wins and some draws and never seem to lose. And defensively, we know how good they are. They can keep a clean sheet in any game. And Gabriel is so good offensively when it comes to attacking corners as well. At least in the past, like they have struggled a bit more to score from corners, and that's what Gabriel has sort of, the hype around him has died a little bit. But I think soon enough, especially when Saka comes back around game week 30, I think it's going to be terrific. So for the long term, I think Gabriel is really good, and for the short term as well, like with the fixtures, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, I could see them keeping a clean sheet there as well. And then Man United, which is also a pretty good like fixture for a clean sheet, especially like lately. And then Chelsea, they do have a tough fixture in game week 29, but at least they have a fixture. So yeah, Gabriel, I think is just a really good player to have, and don't sleep on Arsenal. Like they're really good still. Like even though they are getting clowned on, they did lose twice to Newcastle in the cup. I don't think Newcastle suit Arsenal very well because yeah, Arsenal just struggle to score and create chances against like deep lying teams like that. But Gabriel is just a really terrific player. We know what he's capable of in FPL. So yeah, he's a pretty simple choice at number 8 for me. And I just wanted to make that point about Arsenal, like 15 games unbeaten in the league. It's kind of crazy. And I don't think they're going to stop now as well. I think they're going to keep chugging along and winning games. And sort of like put some pressure on Liverpool at least, if anything else. So yeah, Gabriel in at number 8. Number 9, we have Matheus Cunha, who is currently in my own team. I never sold him in my own team, but I think if you sold him, that was the right decision most likely because he hasn't really been the best since like game week 20. But lately, he's been coming on again and scoring goals in the last 2 game weeks. He's looking better and better. And the fixtures, most importantly, are going to get better as well. The immediate fixtures now with Bournemouth away, not the best. Fulham, really good defensive team. Again, not the best. Everton, kind of resurgent. Like the next fixtures aren't like ideal, but they are getting better. And after that, especially game week 29, which is going to be the blank game week where you want a lot of good players, Cunha is going to be a really nice option in that game week as well. So yeah, Cunha showing form. The fixtures are getting better. And yeah, we just know what Cunha can do from earlier this season when he was like really, really good at one point in the season when Wolves fixtures were really good. So again, it's just like a fixtures play. We've seen that in the past. When the fixtures are good, Cunha is really, really, really good. And that's why he's in the Wildcard draft for now. But again, lots of good striker options. I say that with every striker that I've mentioned in this video so far, but I really like Isak, Marmoush, and Cunha. There's just a lot of other good options as well that I'm going to talk about later in the video. But yeah, those are the 3 strikers that I have. Cunha is the final one, and basically it's just because of the form, the fixtures, and what we've seen from him in the past as well. So yeah, Cunha comes in at number 9. Number 10, we have Daniel Muñoz from Crystal Palace. He's been really good lately. Of course, not in this past game week where I did start him and he got like 1 point against Everton. But before that, he's been scoring, he's been assisting, he's been getting clean sheets. And Palace are actually in a decent kind of form lately as well. And he's the 3rd outfield player that I have that is going to blank in game week 29, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to have an 11 of players playing in that game week anyway. So it's not really the biggest of deals. And the fixture for Palace as well, they have decent fixtures before the game week 29. Game week 30 is really good for Palace as well, and they are most likely doubling in game week 33 as well. So yeah, all in all, I think Muñoz is still a really good player to have. He's been really good and really attacking, but he is also sort of like losing his thunder a little bit, especially with game week 29 coming up, which is a blank. But yeah, I think he's like a nice 3rd option to have, or like a nice 3rd bench player to have in game week 29, and have him for the good fixtures before and slightly after game week 30 or game week 29 as well. So yeah, Muñoz comes in at number 10, just for the fact that he plays for like a pretty good team in Palace, like a sort of resurgent team under Glasner, and he's just really attacking. So yeah, that's what I like the most about Muñoz. So he comes in at number 10. Number 11, we have Nico Williams from Nottingham Forest, and he's just been playing pretty much every single game for Forest for like 10, 12 game weeks now. I think he's pretty nailed for Forest, and yes, the immediate fixtures aren't that good, but eventually the fixtures are going to look really, really good for Nottingham Forest. And seeing as he is playing every single game week now, he's pretty nailed for Nottingham Forest. The fixtures are going to be really good, and he's only 4.4. I think that combination is really good. So you can just stash him on the bench for the next 3 game weeks. Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, City at home. Really tough game weeks. You wouldn't want to start him in any of those, but considering the price that he is, the nailed onness that he has currently, and just the fact that Nottingham Forest will have really good fixtures from game week 29 onwards, you really want to have like probably a triple up on Forest at some point. just based on how good they've been so far this season and how good defensively they've been so far this season, I think Williams is also like a pretty easy pick to have, especially if you just want to have like someone cheap on the bench in your defense. Nico Williams is definitely someone you should consider because he is playing quite a lot. He has shown some like goal scoring and assist potential prowess in the past as well this season. So yeah, pretty easy choice for me, even though the fixtures immediately aren't the best. But long term, he's going to be a really good pick to have, and that's what you're looking for in the 4th and 5th defenders. You want someone that's going to be good long term, who's not that pricey, and that fits Nico Williams perfectly. So he comes in at number 11. Number 12, we have Brian Mbeumo still in the team. He has Leicester away this game week, and I think that's like the main thing. I think personally in Game 27 onwards in the weekly wildcard draft, I'm going to exclude Mbeumo because there are some other options that you could go with instead. But I think the Leicester fixture is just really, really good, and we've seen Mbeumo in the past in these types of fixtures be really good against Southampton twice this season. He was absolutely amazing. So I think for this game week in particular, Mbeumo is really nice to have. But long-term wise, especially after Game 29, Game 29 is also against Bournemouth away, which isn't the best fixture, but at least it is a fixture. But like after Game 29, I don't think Mbeumo was going to be in the team. But before that, especially with the Leicester fixture, I think he has to be in the team still. He looked pretty lively against West Ham. I think he was like sort of unlucky not to get more points. He was close to getting a couple assists. He had a pretty good chance to score. He's really close to scoring before Kevin Schade scored the first goal as well. Like he was just like a toe away from scoring the goal instead of the ball bouncing out to Schade, who scored. So yeah, I think Mbeumo was still a good player. He is looking decent in terms of like positioning and stuff. Like he's not ideal. He's still a bit out wide, a bit too much out wide for my taste, but he is still in good positions. He's still on set pieces and penalties. So he's still a good option, especially with the Leicester fixture in mind. But yeah, he's going to be dropped eventually this season in the weekly wildcard draft series. But for now, with the Leicester fixture, I just need to include him still. So he comes in at number 12. Number 13, we have Dubravka for Newcastle. Sort of been unsure when it comes to Newcastle. Pope was out injured for a while, and he came back. And now he's just benched. Like he's just on the bench, and he didn't really impress that much when he got the chance to play in the cup. So it seems like Dubravka is just going to be the number 1 goalkeeper for Newcastle for the end of the season. So considering he's 4.3, really cheap. Again, someone you can bench. Like he's the 4th player that blanks in game week 29. But yeah, if he's like the long-term pick for Newcastle in goal, which it seems like he is currently, then he's going to be tremendous value as well for the end of the season with the double game weeks and stuff. From game week 30 onwards, tripling up on Newcastle will be really, really nice. And if Dubravka is going to keep that place, which it seems pretty likely that he's going to do now, Nick Pope has had several game weeks now to get back into the team, and he played in the cup as well, which is usually a sign that he's the cup keeper and not the league keeper. It just seems like Dubravka is going to be the starting goalkeeper, but just that slight doubt about like if Dubravka makes a mistake or something, then maybe Nick Pope will be back into the goal. That just makes me a little bit uneasy. So that makes me afraid to like put him higher in the standings than number 13, but I think the upside there potentially as a really cheap goalkeeper for a pretty good defensive side with really good fixtures from game 30 onwards especially, I think Dubravka is like a decent option. So yeah, he comes in at number 13. Not really that many good goalkeeper options anyway. So yeah, Dubravka is really nice, especially if he can keep his place, which he looks likely to do now because Pope just seems to be the second choice at the moment. So yeah, Dubravka for 4.3 at number 13 makes sense to me at least. Number 14, we have Joachim Andersen still from Fulham. Oh, I shouldn't say still because he's a new player in the squad. As you can see that his name is in green, which means that he's a new player. But I've had him previously in the weekly wildcard draft series as well because he's really cheap, 4.2, and plays for one of the best defenses in the league when you look at like expected goals conceded lately. Fulham have been really good with Lukic and Sanderberge in midfield there, and Andersen in defense as well. So there could be some clean sheets coming up. Really good fixtures in the immediate term. Long-term, the fixtures looking good as well. And Andersen, like the most interesting thing about him is the fact that he's only 4.2. So he's really, really cheap. Really nice option to have as like the 5th defender. Don't really have to use him that much, but he is someone that could step in and play as well. Castagna is more offensively minded, but he's also going to be only playing until game 29. And after that, he's going to be like a dud. So because Kenny Tete is going to be back in the side. So I think Andersen is like a solid pick to have as like a 5th defender. But obviously, as a 5th defender who is not going to play that much, he's not that important. So that's why he's number 14 pretty much. And speaking of like not that important, we have Verbruggen as the backup goalkeeper just in case Dubravka loses his place. We have someone to step in and start most games in Verbruggen. Brighton, pretty up and down team. You can't really trust them that much. Can't really trust Verbruggen that much either. But he did get like 10 points this past game week when Brighton beat Chelsea 3-0, which is kind of crazy after they lost 7-0 against Nottingham Forest the game week before that. So not a huge fan of Verbruggen, but I think he's like the best, like most solid goalkeeper to have, especially for like the next couple of game weeks. He has decent fixtures. Game week 29 against Man City, not ideal. You wish to have a better goalkeeper for that game week, but at least it's someone that plays at least, so maybe he can get some points there and at least avoid minus points. Maybe City score a lot of goals there, but yeah, at least he is a player that could potentially get points there. And we've seen Brighton, like we just saw against Chelsea, they can get clean sheets from really unexpected avenues. So yeah, Verbruggen comes in number 15, but seeing as it's number 15, it's not that important. I don't really like him that much. Could go with like a 4.0 goalkeeper. You could go with just one 4.5 goalkeeper and then have another like keeper that blanks for the rest of it. You could go with Kepa, but I just prefer Kerkez, Kluivert, and Dango in just our Bournemouth assets. I don't want to use up a spot on a goalkeeper there. So yeah, I just want to go with Dubravka and Verbruggen instead. But yeah, they're 13th and 15th for a reason. Don't really have too much faith in them, but they are currently the best goalkeeper duo for me as it stands in FPL. So yeah, that's the full squad of 15 players. As you can see, Dubravka, Verbruggen, Gabriel, Nico Williams, Andersen, Marmoush, and Cunha are all new players since the Game Week 24 draft. So that means that 7 players have dropped out since then. So let's go through them and check out why I'm decided to leave them out of this squad, basically. So back in Game Week 24, I had Trent Alexander-Arnold and Gakpo pretty high up in the list, and that was for a pretty big reason. And that big reason was the fact that they were going to double in Game Week 24 and double in Game Week 25. But now we're past Game Week 24 and 25, at least when it comes to a wildcard draft. We still have that one fixture for Liverpool left now on Wednesday. But without the doubles and stuff, with the tough fixtures against City and Newcastle, Southampton's a good game, obviously. But yeah, with the tough fixtures, the blanket 29, all that stuff, no doubles anymore. It's just easy to drop both Trent and Gakpo, especially considering they're expensive, and especially considering we have so many good striker options for Gakpo as well. You could keep him. Like personally, I'm probably going to keep him in my own team for the Southampton game. But there are like reasons to sell him as well. I am tempted to go with Marmoush rather than Gakpo in my own team, but especially on the wildcard, no reason to have Gakpo, especially with the injury doubts that he has still. So yeah, both him and Trent are out. Trent is also like a decent player to have, I guess. Liverpool have good fixtures. They have a double, or they don't have a double in 33 actually. They are out of the cup. So yeah, another reason why it's looking less likely to have Liverpool players long term now, because they got knocked out of the cup sort of unexpectedly. So yeah, the value for Liverpool players have just dropped significantly, especially with the double game weeks out of the picture now and no more doubles most likely for the end of the season. So yeah, easy to drop both those guys, even though they were high up in Game 24, but there's a big reason for that, like I said, and that's the double game weeks that they just got through. So yeah, Jan Vissa is another one of those good strikers that you could have potentially, especially for the Leicester game. But just like I said with Mbeumo, he's number 12 for a reason. It's because the fixture for Brentford long term just aren't the best. And Vissa's also been blanking a lot lately, even though he's had like a lot of chances to score. Like he's been really unlucky enough to get more points, but I feel like a double up on Brentford is just a bit too much currently. So Vissa drops out as well. I think there's just better striking options currently. Mikolenko and Pickford, sort of the same as with Liverpool. They had a double game week in Game Week 24, and we're past that now. So yeah, they don't really have as much value anymore. So they've dropped out. Lewis Hall is still a really good player, and especially if you have value tied into him, you could still keep him. But currently, I just prefer Muñoz for like long-term flexibility, and yeah. But Hall is still like, he's someone that could be in the squad. I'm still not 100% sure about Dubravka, still not 100% sure about Muñoz, so you could easily have Hall instead and have someone else in goal rather than Dubravka, and have that third spot open for Newcastle, whether that's assistant manager in Game Week 31 through 33. Or if it's someone like Gordon eventually in the team, you want to leave that third Newcastle spot open, I think. But yeah, Hall is definitely in consideration. Then we have Areola, who made the team previously. I think he's going to be the starting goalkeeper for West Ham for the end of the season, but I'm not completely sure. You can never be sure when it comes to Graham Potter and goalkeepers. He tends to rotate goalkeepers, and Areola just hasn't been that good this season. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see Fabianski get into the team again. even though Areola sort of fits more the profile of a goalkeeper that Graham Potter wants. But yeah, I just think there's like potentially better options than Areola currently, especially with like the uncertainty and also with just how bad West Ham have been so far this season. So yeah, Areola drops out as well. So that's all the players dropping out. We also have the final thing to talk about, and that is the on the cusp section, basically the 3 players that were close to making the squad but didn't for some reason. So let's talk about those 3 options as well. First of all, Haaland, you have to mention him because Game Week 29, he's most likely going to be the best captaincy option. But with this team as well, like there is an option to sell Isak in Game Week 29 if you want to. I probably wouldn't do it myself just because of the fixtures after that. He's going to be really essential to have from Game Week 30 onwards. But there is a route here to sell Isak to bring in Haaland, and potentially selling Palmer to fund that, selling Mbeumo to fund that. Like there's different ways to fund getting in Haaland eventually. But for now, with the fixtures that they have coming up with Liverpool and Nottingham Forest in 2 out of the next 3, and Spurs as well, which is typically like a pretty tough fixture for City. I just don't think investing that much money in Haaland is worth it, especially when Marmoush is there. Like I think Marmoush is just like for half the price basically. He has like almost the same upside as well, like close to at least. Like it's a bit crazy to say that, I guess, but yeah, I don't really think Marmoush is that much worse of an option than Haaland. And that's why like I much prefer Marmoush currently. But for like Game Week 29 fixture, especially if you want that safety of a captaincy choice, if you don't really believe in Marmoush's minutes, even though he's played 70 plus minutes in every single league game so far, and he's going to get more now that he's scored 3 goals, most likely. If you for some reason want Haaland, then I guess it makes sense. But for now, with the tough fixtures that they have for the next 3 game weeks, I would rather go with Marmoush, who's more cheap, and I can spend money elsewhere in attack. So yeah, Haaland eventually is going to be in the team, most likely. But for now, I think you can go without him and have Palmer instead with those easy fixtures. And then you could potentially do the swap for Palmer out and Haaland in Game Week 30, or in Game Week 29 even. In Game Week 29 most likely, because that's when you want Haaland, especially. Even one area as well, I mentioned him several times in the past few weeks as well in FPL. He's just really cheap, and he showed this past game week against Leicester what he can do. He was the man of the match. He's a terrific player. I don't know why he hasn't gotten the chance earlier in the season. That's one of the big downfalls of Arteta this season for me, because Waneri is looking really, really good. And next season, he's going to have a breakout year. I'm saying it right now. Like, he's going to be fantastic. He's going to be a reason why, in my opinion, Arsenal will win the league next season. I've said that the last few seasons, but next year is the year for Arsenal. Like, I know people say that, but yeah. But Waneri is really good. He's really, really cheap, obviously, as well. So that's why he's really tempting to have. I did think about dropping down Mbeumo and having Waneri, but that would leave this squad with like 5 million in the bank. So that almost makes up the money already for Marmoush to Haaland. But yeah, I think it's just that, like, I want Mbeumo for this fixture more than I want Waneri. And Waneri is also like more of a short-term pick because we know Saka's going to be back in Game Week 30. And at the very least, that's going to shift Waneri out of his favorite position at the right. And like maybe he will be dropped out of the team entirely, especially with Martinelli coming back as well. So long term, he's not like the best option, but he's really cheap, obviously. Most likely going to play in Game Week 29 because I don't think Saka will be back for that game week. So there are some good reasons to have Waneri, and there are some good reasons to not have him as well. And he just didn't make the cut for me this time around, at least. Also in defense, Guardiola. I do have enough money in the bank to have Guardiola in the team, but currently, I just prefer Muñoz, Gabriel, and Kerkez as like the starting 3 defenders for the prices that they are and stuff. But Guardiola, we saw against Chelsea especially how offensively minded he can be in some games. He is still a really good option, so he is someone that I would definitely consider for sure. But he just didn't make the cut because I prefer some of the other options here. But yeah, definitely from Game Week 29 onwards, he's someone that you could for sure have. But again, sort of want to leave that money in the bank as well for Haaland, so I didn't want to invest too much in the defense either. So yeah, I prefer Gabriel as like a more expensive defender, and I don't have enough money for the future, at least. If you want to have the option to get in Haaland, to have Guardiola in the wildcard squad, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that's why he's also dropped out, or not dropped out. That's why he didn't make the cut for the team either. So yeah, that's all the players on the cusp. That's all the players that have been dropped, all the players that have been included. What are you going to say if you should wildcard or not this game week? I don't think so, but currently, like, it's looking pretty good. Like, you can actually get through Game Week 29 pretty easily with this team. As you can see, like, only 4 players banking, 1 in each position: Dubravka, Muñoz, Salah, and Isak. So you can get through Game Week 29 pretty easily. it would be ideal to save your wildcard for later on, so you can better maximize like game week 33, double game week 32 as well, where you have another like double game week fixture. I think it's better to use it later, but I don't think it's the worst game week. If your team is like looking completely terrible now and you really need to revamp, like I don't think it's the worst to do wildcard. But yeah, again, I would mostly advise to not use wildcard until game week 30 at least, because yeah, we don't know yet what's going to happen at the end of the season. We don't really know yet which teams are going to blank, which teams are going to double, which game weeks will be double game weeks, which game weeks will be blank game weeks entirely. Like it's a bit up in the air now. The fixtures have been really tough to predict this season, so I would probably save the wildcard, but it's not the worst thing in the world either to wildcard now, because this team is looking pretty strong in my opinion. So yeah, those are just my final thoughts on whether you should wildcard or not. I'm going to include that in every single weekly wildcard drafts video from now on as well, because I think it's pretty useful. If you are wondering if you should wildcard or not, it's nice to just get like a bit of an insight from me, at least what I would do if I was in your position and was thinking about wildcarding. So this game week, decent, but probably not ideal to do it until game week 30 at least. So yeah, those are my closing thoughts when it comes to the wildcard this game week, and the wildcard draft as it were as well this game week. So with all that out of the way, thank you for watching as always. I'll see you next time, I'm sure. I'm gonna have the team section video where I'm also gonna have the team of the week as well. We'll finally see what happens with Salah and the triple captaincy that I have invested in him this game week, and see if it actually worked out in the end. So yeah, see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.